Viewers, if you're tuning in right now, there has been a big escalation in the Middle East conflict. United States has directly entered into the Iran-Israel war. Donald Trump has gone where no U.S. President has gone till now. Stealth bombers have been dropped on Iranian nuclear sites. 3 Iranian nuclear sites were bombed by U.S. And the U.S. President went on to say that these strikes were excellent. And if Iran chooses to retaliate, then more will happen. When he mentioned retaliation, he was of course talking about the American assets, deep American assets that remain present in West Asia. But since those attacks by America on Iranian nuclear sites, there has been a fresh round of strikes by Iran on Israeli cities. And there has been a retaliation that has come in from Israel as well. I want to first cut across and get in my colleague Mohammad Ghazali, who's joining us live for more on this. And then we'll try and connect with Ankit as well, who is in Tel Aviv, to get us what's really happening on ground zero. As I said, fresh round of escalation and strikes are continuing between Iran and Israel. The situation remains volatile. The area, the region remains completely fluid. Ghazali, you've been working the phones. Talk to us about what is it that your sources are telling you in terms of the Iranian establishment. Ideally, one would have imagined that there could be some cessation of hostilities, but that doesn't look the case right now. What are your sources telling you?
See, first thing that the US launched its attack overnight, and Iran was informed about it, that there were 2 war goals. One, to denuclearize Iran, to dismantle the entire nuclear infrastructure in Iran, as well as change the regime. But US has contained itself with just one war goal, that it had launched the attack, conveyed to Iran in prior that we are going to dismantle the nuclear enrichment facilities, but we are not going to go for any regime change operations. The regime change operations obviously hints towards the assassination of top Iranian leader, Mr. Ayatollah Khamenei. This is somewhere which shows that US has still opened the back channel talks with Iran. Iran continues to maintain its stand that it can't compromise on national sovereignty, it can't be suppressed into negotiations, and that is why these attacks have been launched against Israel. There have been no attacks yet from Iran towards any of the US bases in Middle East, largely because of the fact that most of these bases are based in those countries which are also close allies of Iran. Let's say the American air base in Qatar. Qatar has been involved in the negotiations when it comes to Gaza hostages. Iran is also one of the stakeholders there. Now the ground situation is that Iran is launching attacks towards Israel, and we have seen around 22 to 27 missiles have been launched towards Israeli cities of Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and Haifa, and we are getting those visuals of damage. The situation is still emerging. The authorities there are still assessing the damage being inflicted on certain areas in Israel right now, but the situation is very fluid. Iran has been appealing the United Nations Security Council to
there's more breaking news coming in. I want to address that and get in Zvika Klein, who's joining us live from Tel Aviv, to get a sense of how things are right now on ground. He's the editor-in-chief of Jerusalem Post. There are updates coming in, Mr. Klein, which says that Iran has targeted the Israeli airport, Ben Gurion, and has targeted command centers in Israel as well. Tell us what's the situation right now on ground, the latest update that you can share with us.
Hello, good morning from Jerusalem. As much as I know, there hasn't been any attack on the airport. It remains to be seen, I think. But the attacks really were mainly in Tel Aviv and in Haifa, and there's dozens of Israelis injured, including children and elderly. But most of the injuries are actually light wounds. Thank God, because people are in their shelters. And obviously, everybody is uptight and uptick as a result of the American attack. And most Israelis were hoping for this type of attack to join Israel and to show partnership, and it did. And therefore the situation will probably also become a bit more dramatic.
It's important what you are saying. You are saying that there has been no attack or attempted attack on Ben Gurion Airport. The reason I'm asking you about this is because Iranian television, their state TV, says that several sites, including Ben Gurion, have been targeted. Targets include support bases, command and control centers, etc., etc. Now, that's a claim. What you are telling us as an independent journalist is that Ben Gurion Airport, which is obviously so important, has not been struck. I mean, that's your information. Is that right?
100%. And I'm just like you. I'm just looking at the TV next to me to see if I missed something possibly. Right. They may, by the way, they've been trying to target it. The question is, did they hit? I haven't had any indications up until now that site was hit.
Mm-hmm. All right. In terms of what Israel may be planning next at this stage, because we've seen just by the sequence of events, America struck Iran. We've seen Iran striking Israel. Israel struck back. Could you tell us more about the Israeli offensive in the last, I guess, half an hour or so?
Yeah, I mean, the Israeli offensive is continuing to attack sites that are not civilian, as opposed to Iran. Sites that are military bases, missile factories, etc. And they're continuing to do so for 10 days now. And it's actually surprising, dominating the airspace in Iran, being able to go in and out as they wish.
Mm-hmm. There are some videos and visuals we are putting out right now for our viewers to see. As per the Iranian state television, that is Press TV, they say that this is the kind of impact that the Iranian missiles have had on several Israeli cities, that we are putting that out. This is as per the Iranian state broadcaster. I want to understand from you, sir, that what is the kind of damage right now that has taken place in Israel, because IRGC has said that long-range missiles are now being used against Israel. Does this indicate a willingness to escalate this further? Where do you see this over the next 24 to 48 hours?
So first of all, I mean, the footage you're showing at the moment is definitely actual footage, and that is the type of ruins we are seeing in different cities across Israel. Luckily, because Israel is able to shoot down many of the missiles or the drones coming, so there are not as many of them landing. But definitely, yeah, when the missile lands, that's the effect it has on a building. And as opposed to missiles being sent by the Houthis from Yemen or from Hezbollah in Lebanon, these missiles are ballistic, as you said, long range, and the effect that they have is a lot more dramatic. As for the Israeli offensive, I think obviously Israel will retaliate. And I think a lot of Israelis' objectives have been already achieved. Therefore, if the United States, Iran, etc., will want to move on to some sort of diplomatic situation, Israel may actually, abide to it. Yeah.
Mr. Klein, what is the regional impact of the American involvement in the strikes on Iran?
I think it remains to be seen. Well, I think throughout the day or the next few days, it's a very good question. There could be so many implications on this attack, and the Middle East is so fragile and so tense. It could have effects on Jordan, on Saudi Arabia, on the Gulf countries. So it really remains to be seen, because some of these countries, Muslim countries, Arab countries, speak out against Israel publicly, but behind the scenes are actually happy that Israel is attacking Iran. So the question will really be how this will affect those countries, and definitely the moderate Muslim countries that have very important and strategic ties with the United States. Now that the United States is joined in this attack, I think their criticism will be a bit more mellow.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Klein, we've seen direct Israeli attacks on Iran. We've seen direct American attacks on Iran as well. But one of your biggest concerns has obviously been proxies of the Iranian state, which is why we've seen the attacks on Gaza, which is why we've seen the attacks against Hamas to the north, which is why we've seen, your attacks against targets in Yemen as well, the Houthis. Is it your real concern that as we move beyond, the military strikes, that threat of terrorism remains a far more, perhaps even deadly or dangerous or pervasive, persistent threat against the state of Israel?
I mean, I think, yeah, that threat still is there, and that's why Israel is still operating in the relevant countries, and Israel is not enjoying any of this, and nothing that has been done is the IDF wants to do actively, but we see this as a war of survival. We had our War of Independence in 1948, and really now it's kind of the revival of our nation after October 7th, 2023, being attacked from 7 different fronts. Such a little country, it's not easy. And therefore, Israel is continuing to do these operations in all these countries. And if Iran would, agree, or if the IRGC would agree to convince the proxies or stop funding the proxies, etc., obviously that would have a positive effect.
Yes.
We don't see that happening. They keep on threatening.
Mr. Klein, you mentioned that some of the objectives of Israel when it started these strikes have been met. But there is a lot of hawkish commentary that's also coming in from Iran. There are some experts who feel that this could expedite the program once again, no matter how many nuclear scientists that may have been eliminated, no matter the setback that may have taken place through these entire nuclear program. But how do you view that, given the fact that several Iranian commentators feel that it could expedite rather than slowing the program further?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's definitely a scenario, and I hope it's not a realistic one, but it could definitely be a realistic scenario. But the other direction would be some sort of instability within Iran, and the Israeli government isn't actively trying to change the regime in Iran, but definitely since this regime has taken place, its hostility towards Israel has been huge and deadly, and thousands of Jews and Israelis around the world, including in Israel, were killed because of these hostilities, and because of this extreme element that they represent. So if this continues, if the regime were to be threatened, that could possibly be a positive outcome, but obviously it could also be a negative one.
And Mr. Klein, stay with us, because I want to now go across to Vishnu to talk about the kind of impact that this could have in terms of the strikes on ground. But before that, Mr. Klein, one more question I want to ask about is the regime change. It was being mentioned repeatedly that regime change could be one of the goals of Israel. Do you still see that right now, given the fact that it could have widespread ramifications for the entire region, and the supreme leader enjoys huge popularity in large parts of Iran?
So nobody will say it publicly, and I think Israel also is very careful, hopefully doing so and speaking about this. It's definitely something I think that most Israelis would like to see. But also most Israelis don't understand, including myself, don't understand enough of the nuance and the sociology, etc., within Iran, within the Iranian population. So, I think definitely there is some sort of will for that to happen. And again, this is a leader that threatens the existence of Israel. It's not even saying, "Oh, we're going to attack Israel." Every morning, the supreme leader Khamenei will tweet or speak out and say that the state of Israel should be wiped out off the map. We've seen plans for him to do that. So therefore, obviously, deep down inside, Israel wants to see him go.
All right. That was Mr. Zveka Klein of the Jerusalem Post, editor-in-chief, talking about whether or not the main or key objectives of Israel have been addressed or not. As we speak, viewers, what's flashing at the bottom of your screens right now is a world leader's response to the present escalation in the Middle East. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has responded to this. He's put out a post saying that Iran's nuclear program is a grave threat to international security. Iran can never be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon, and the US has taken action to alleviate that threat. Remember, just days ago, the G7 statement that came in also talked about how the Iranian nuclear program is a huge threat, and they completely support Israel. This was ahead of the G7 summit, and now after the attack that has taken place, the US bombing the 3 nuclear sites of Iran. This is the first statement that's come in from the UK Prime Minister, calling for diplomacy, backing American strikes against Iran, and saying that US has taken action to remove the Iranian nuclear threat, and says that Iran must come to the negotiating table. Talks have been going on. Remember, there was one that happened a few days back on Friday itself, 48 hours back in Switzerland.